Here is my pole lathe. This is one I built myself based on a few different models I found on the internet. You can see it turns very nicely. Actually need to have another wrap on there. It would turn a little bit better that way. But here's a partial bowl I have ready to go here. I just have to finish hollowing it out. But you can see a lovely grain on this. It ought to be pretty nice. This is a piece of tulip poplar I'm turning. For turning bowls, well, first of all, with a pole lathe, you have the string coming from some sort of springy thing. I'm using a nice simple bicycle inner tube up there. I just have it hooked to rafters, and you can see my shop. The section of my shop is very short. Actually, have to not hit my head on the rafter there. And the string goes down, wraps around. This is called a mandrel, and it is just hooked to my bowl blank there, and you have to work around it, because with a spring pole lathe, all you have are these centers here, and here, and your piece is between them. Now with spindle turning, that's no problem. You can just turn your spindle just like any other lathe. But with bowl turning, most modern lathes have some kind of chuck here that will hold the bowl blank, and then you have full access to this whole face here, faceplate turning it's called. And but with the spring pole lathe, you would have nothing for the string to attach to, plus you wouldn't have much room there to work around, although I guess it would work. But anyway, you have to have something for the string to attach to. So you create a mandrel here, which basically is your drive for turning the bowl. The string goes all the way down underneath. You can see my little tool rest there. But string goes all the way underneath and attaches to my treadle board. And I have mine attached to a little platform there that sits a couple inches off the ground. You can see it just sits a few inches off of my floor. You can see it makes lots of nice shavings. And just attached with, and my board is just attached with some old leather there. And so when I push on the treadle there, it pulls the string down and turns the bowl, turns my bowl. And so you cut whenever you push, and then your springy thing, in this case my bicycle inner tube, you could use a bungee cord. You can also use a springy pole, which is of course why it's called a spring pole lathe. This is, I guess, would be called a bungy lathe, but that just returns the string up so that you can push your treadle down again. So you just push. So you just cut in one direction here. And so I use my little tools here, and this won't work very well one-handed, but basically I just put my tool in here, and it cuts. It's actually working okay. Nice little shavings here. Anyway, works a little better when I actually have two hands to use there. But anyway, this is the spring pole lathe. Works well for turning bowls. Excellent for turning spindles. Still getting the hang of turning these bowls. This is my second bowl here. But you can see it's a pretty simple construction. The spring pole lathe is really fun. It is easy to build and easy to operate. The one thing I will caution is that my one problem that I have with my lathe is that back here my string rubs on my ways. This is called, these are the ways, these parallel pieces of wood here. It rubs on there and it keeps tearing up my strings pretty quickly. So unfortunately, as you see, my shop is small, and so I don't really have any more room back there to make a longer treadle so that it wouldn't rub. So I'm probably going to have to come up with some sort of roller mechanism for probably just a dowel going back here that maybe just in between centers again so that it can roll instead of rub, and that ought to cure that problem. But we'll see how I end up dealing with that. Anyway, the different parts you have here, this is called the headstock. This is made of pretty burly wood here, so I didn't have to make this too thick. This has been holding, more than tight enough. And I just have a lag screw that I ground the tip smooth, or smooth, so it doesn't have the threads there, and that just bites into or sticks into the center of whatever you're turning, and it sits there and spins on that. Same thing over here on the other side. I made this one a lot thicker here, as you can see. This is the tailstock, it's called, and it's mobile, and so it has to be able to adjust depending on the length of whatever you're turning. So it's just held in with a simple wedge under here, underneath the way there. So I just bump the wedge loose right here. Oh, and of course it fell out, which is not supposed to do. The dowel that was holding it in broke just then. That's the way it works, I guess, when you get on camera. So I can stick it back in there, and I'll just pull it out for now. And but this is just sitting here now, and I'm trying to figure out how I can do this with one hand. But basically, I can push this back away from my piece here, and so it's separated, and I can take this off. Again, a lot easier to use with two hands. And so now my piece is gone, and this is just really nice because it can slide back and forth as needed, and then you just put the wedge in the back. You can put it in the back, or you could set it up where you could put it in the back or the front. I just did it that way, and so you come back here, there's your little wedge, and I just bang that in place, and now this is nice and steady, it won't move anywhere. And I do have the ability to tighten my lag screw with a wrench there to tighten or loosen my hold, so I don't have to adjust everything just by moving it with that wedge. It makes it a little easier, especially when I first put something on there. But really, you don't have to bother doing that. If you wanted a different mechanism for your centers here, then you could easily do something that wouldn't move back and forth. I got most of my inspiration for this from a few different people, mostly on YouTube. Ben Orford and Robin Wood, English bowl turners, or Robin Wood's a bowl turner. Ben Orford does a lot of things, and yeah, lots of different plans online. And you could build this more like green woodworking with round wood and timbers and hollow things out instead of using lumber like this. But I had all of this sitting around. This was some free wood that I had sitting around, so I did that. Use what's available. I just have this bolted or just screwed to the back wall of my shop and screwed down to the floor to make this stable enough. And you could certainly, often that is, if you want this freestanding, then you'd have big legs. I did it this way mainly so that it wouldn't take up much room, because if I had big legs sticking out right here, as you can see, I have a very narrow space here. It wouldn't have room. I wouldn't have room to walk and work here, because there's my workbench over here. So this was my compromise. It makes it difficult to move, because I'd have to take out all those screws, and then it won't stand up by itself outside. So it's a stationary unit. And the other problem I have with this is I would definitely make this longer if I had the room, but this is all I had, so this is how long I made it. It'll hold a max of about 22-inch spindle here, or piece of wood here. So so far that hasn't been a problem. I haven't run into anything that I wanted to do longer than that. But if you're doing baseball bats or large chair parts and things like that, you'd run into problems. You can see over here I have a little heater that I built. The chimney's not hooked up since it's summertime, but I'm going to make that go out the window there. It's a little rocket mass heater right there. Works great. I can boil water on top of it when I get it going. It's a mini version. Most of them are much larger, usually using 30 or 55 gallon barrels instead of that little recycled chicken water there. Anyway, that's my little lathe setup. Hope you enjoy.